if that guy shows up, then Washington's offense is, much, much, much better, right? But boy, I just, it is hard for me to sit here and say that is a logical move.
Ben Standig's joining us right now. So, did you learn anything about why Chris Paul didn't get signed by anybody else and why he's back here? Do we have Ben?
We sure do.
Was that for me?
Yeah,
I didn't hear
it was for you.
I came in. You were talking. Why do we think that happened? I really don't. I'm not positive on an answer for that. I mean, again, sometimes it is just a game of musical chairs. Like it's maybe not apples to apples comparison, but like Jawan Jennings, is still floating around in free agency. He's a guy that was pegged to be, a receiver getting some good money, and whatever the reason the market went against that. So I don't know if it's just the teams that wanted guards went in other directions. I did feel all along that if it was all things being equal, he would come back here. That he just seems to me the kind of a person that the comfort is a big deal for him, and he talked about that when we spoke with him yesterday. So he didn't really get into like why he what happened in free agency. He didn't get into the specifics, but he just said that he was pretty thrilled to be back. The fact that we still haven't seen the money, as far as I know, probably says a lot about what he unlikely got paid significant even by this team. So that it just maybe, I don't know, the market was overhyped for him, or just the money faded away once other people started getting signing deals.
All right, tell me about what you wrote about. Ben writes on Substack. I would urge you to subscribe. It's totally worth it. It's hardly any money a month, maybe $5 a month. And he does a great job covering this team. You can get a link to it at Ben Standig on X. Tell me about the hurry-up extension with Laramie Tunsil.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were all so obviously because of what happened last year with Terry McLaurin, we're all kind of like, okay, this seems like a no-brainer. This Tunsil thing. Is there going to be any hang-up though? Because we saw what happened last year, and then of course the deal gets done, immediately. And Tunsil was asked why that was the case. He first joked, but he's not lying. He said, well, maybe it's because I'm a great player. Okay, fair enough.
He
but then
is.
He is, yeah. But then he was also.
And by the way, that's part of the answer, don't you think?
Oh, I mean, what I think the answer is that, and the second they made the trade, unless Tunsil was just an utter disaster,
of course,
this was happening. I mean, there's no way you make this trade if you're Adam Peters.
Yeah.
So this was a done
for
deal.
2 years of service. No.
Yeah, right. Tunsil has all the leverage on that one, and he. I'm sure he also articulated to them from the day he, whenever they spoke to him before at the time of the trade, this is what I'm looking for, and so I think all that was in play. But he mentioned, hey, I think that they probably also didn't want to happen what happened to Terry, and again, back of the mind, that's got to be some factor as well. But that doesn't seem to be to me to be the driving factor. It was they made the trade, and this was gonna happen.
All right. Your mock draft 5.0 is out. The 7 spot's always a little bit tricky because of, you can't completely predict what happens in the first 6. When you're sitting there at 2, it's usually pretty easy. Even when you're sitting there at 3 or 4, it's easy. 7's, a tricky spot. Not that 15's any easier, but for a hopefully, a star kind of talent, it's a tough spot. So you've bounced around a little bit all over the place. And in 5.0, your mock draft 5.0, you landed on?
Yeah, there's a few options here for sure. I landed on an option that I'm holding my nose to a degree, and yet simultaneously I'm pretty excited, and that's Jeremiah Love, the running back from Notre Dame. I just do not like taking running backs this high. I don't think a lot of teams do, but this is a weird year where, the top of the draft is a little softer than usual. You've got other players who play a position that are not typically going to get picked this high. Caleb Downs, Sonny Styles. Typically those guys, players at those positions are not going in top 8 or so. But in a year, again, where the top is not, I mean, there's good players, but people clearly are not in love, is my read on all this, that taking the little more unconventional play, if that's like the better just talent, is not a bad way to go. So is he going to make it to 7 is obviously the big question. I think if he gets past the Titans at 4, boy, I just don't know. Are the Giants going to take, like, it's a very different type of running back, but they just, got Cam Scatterby last year. Tyrone Tracy's not bad. Again, if you think Love is all that, you take him, but I think they have other needs, so I don't think they're going to take him. The Browns, again, the Browns are in a complete rebuild mode, and they have Quinshon Judkins, who they took last year, who was really good for them. So I think they need either a receiver or offensive line. And then, that leaves Washington. Again, if Caleb Downs is the other option, that's interesting, but they just signed Nick Cross, who's not saying the same player, but he plays strong safety, which is kind of where you would want to line up Caleb Downs, I think, a bit more. But also Caleb Downs, as fundamentally awesome as he is, and he apparently blew teams away in interviews, there's nothing like athletically special about him. So if you're going to take, like, where, like, say, Kyle Hamilton, is like 6'3", Caleb Downs is, sub 6 foot. He doesn't have particularly great length. He's not run the 40 yet.
Is Caleb Downs sub 6 feet?
I think so.
Okay.
He didn't run the 40 at the combine, Caleb Downs, which doesn't necessarily mean anything, but I don't think anybody's expecting him to go out and run a, 4.3 nothing. So right. I just think he's, I mean, again, he's really interesting, but is it so dynamic? So I just think with Jeremiah Love, I guess he's listed at 6 feet. So apologies for that. Caleb Downs. But yeah, I just think if you're going to go that route, I just think the upside with Love is pretty strong. And again, looking at where Washington is at, they have helped. They've added some stuff for the offense, but I don't think they've added enough. And I think they still need more. Ideally, we're looking at, like, go with another receiver, but the options are getting limited. Is Carnell Tate the answer at 7? Again, I don't know that he's like the number 1 receiver in a regular draft. He may be in this one, but is that where you want to go? There's many reasons to take a receiver, including Terry McLaurin's situation next year, where he's going to be likely is going to probably be released, or they have to restructure the deal because of the cap space. So you need a receiver as sort of the heir apparent type deal. But again, is that Carnell Tate? I don't know. So I just feel like if all these questions are there, I think, and by the way, Reuben Bain is still here, but again, they address defensive line, defensive end a fair amount. I would take one, but I think Love, to me, at that point, boy, again, it's not ideal what I would do, but I think it makes more sense for where they're at.
All right. Daily or twice weekly thoughts on Brandon Ayuk, or just what they do to address receiver if it's not in the draft?
Yeah, I mean, look, the Ayuk situation remains mystery, baffling. I mean, there's no reporting on this, right? There's no, he's not come out and said anything. I think he did post on Instagram the other day that because it was his birthday. So I think he just said something about that. So at least that was like the first sign of him out in public on any level. But yeah, I mean, it gets, weirder by the day that, we still don't know what's going on with him and what San Fran's plan. There's no chance anybody's trading for that contract. So I kind of don't know what San Fran is waiting for, but maybe there's some procedural reasons, or who knows? I guess they don't need to be nice.
Janetti was on with me yesterday, Spot Track. I mean, there's a way to post it now as post June 1 and release it. There's probably some feelings here involved.
Right. Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. They could release him now and do whatever they want and be done with it. So why keep this going? Presumably whenever Kyle Shanahan or John Lynch speak next, if he's still on the team, they're going to get asked those questions. You would think you wouldn't want to deal with that. The other question, and I guess the one I'm really still wondering about, is Juwan Jennings, because, okay, again, Adam Peters, if we're going to play the game, he drafted Juwan Jennings, 7th round, turned out to be one of his better moves. And he's like a bit of an older guy. He's 20. I think he's going to be 29 this season. So, I mean, older meaning he's not the sort of the guy to replace Terry for the long haul. But okay, but if you can sign him to a 1-year deal, it seems like the money is the issue with him. I don't know how rigid he is with what price he's asking for, but if they come down on that, boy, that would just seem to be solving so many problems. And again, for me, with Ayuk, it is like it's not just signing him. You have to decide that we have enough if everything goes south, like the way they didn't last year with Noah Brown, when the injuries were obvious and they didn't deal with that. So, look, Ayuk would be a tremendous addition. The best version of Ayuk, the one who was warranted a contract that was giving him, $30 million a year. If that guy shows up, then Washington's offense is, much, much, much better, right? But boy, it is hard for me to sit here and say that is a logical move. So I don't know. I don't know if they're into Jennings or not. There's not been a ton of rumors on that side either. And so I'm not suggesting that is the play, but knowing Adam Peters' approach, he's going to hold a price. And if somebody wants to come to meet it, great. If you don't, that's cool. Does Jennings come down at some point and say, okay, let's do this? The idea of playing with Jaden Daniels, he knows Peters, assuming that they have at least a decent relationship. Those things seem attractive to me and far less risk than the Ayuk thing. But that would be my only thought. Beyond that, you're looking at the draft. I understand possibly taking somebody at 7. Even we talk a lot about Carnell Tate. Even like a Mekhi Lemon, his comparison in the pros, a lot of people go with the Amon-Ra St. Brown. Well, if we're going to play the David Blau is going to incorporate Ben Johnson's offense, do you want the Amon-Ra St. Brown guy? I mean, they haven't addressed the slot. Are we just assuming that they're going to go with Jalen Lane and Luke McCaffrey? I mean, until further notice, sure, but that could be upgraded, right? So I get the point of receiver, but I would rather spend that pick elsewhere, and that's why the Jennings thing to me is just super interesting. Is Adam Peters holding out for money, or is he just simply not interested?
All right. I got a minute here. How's your bracket doing?
Yeah, pretty good so far. My only hiccup was I went with Devonta and BYU going to the 8. I didn't realize that their second leading score was out for the year. Yeah, he was amazing yesterday, but he had just no help.
Yeah.
But otherwise, so far so good.
All right. Talk to you later. Thanks.
Yeah, man.